interesting thing that came out of James Franklin's press conference this week that I do want to spend some time talking about this week on the podcast, because I think this flows nicely with the game situation or the kick time situation. Is this question? I think Neil Rudell asked it, and effectively, I'm just going to read the question. I'm wondering, you had mentioned earlier this season how the playoffs are going to lengthen the season now, and you're concerned about building that depth and whatnot. I'm just wondering, with the changes, do you still advocate? I know you guys have a financial consideration, a 12-game regular season, and basically the crux of the answer from James Franklin lies in the kind of the third paragraph. So yeah, I don't think that's the right thing to do, but that's not changing for all the reasons that you could imagine. It's just like the conferences that play 9 or 8 games. I don't think that was advantageous either for the Big Ten, but I would make the other argument: once you go to 9, you're not going back to 8. You're hoping conferences will go to 9. I actually even see it possibly going to a 10 conference games. I think this answer is very interesting for a lot of reasons. Number one, as a proponent of getting rid of the Power 5 rule, my main takeaway is a Power 5 non-conference rule is I would actually be fine if teams went back to 11 games a season. And then you're going to schedule a MAC team and then an FCS team. To me, like, I think with the playoff and considering where Penn State is and probably should end up every year in terms of the way that picture plays out, I'm fine with that. But I could understand Indiana, Ball State, any of those programs being upset about that, just because that's a significant portion of money being cut off the table. So I don't think they're going to cut that. But I am interested and fascinated to see kind of has this whole like collective bargaining thing. Steve and I were talking about the Tennessee thing where they're throwing in a fee on tickets, basically that goes directly to the athletes, which Steve is happy about because they're calling it what it is, a performance fee. I'm curious. I think there's something there. Like, I don't think James Franklin would have said this without there being some smoke in the water about maybe moving to 10. 10 conference games. I think, but I don't think we're ever going backwards. I think we're always going to be at 12.
I think you're much closer to 10 conference games than you are to 11 overall. And I think that goes to our discussion we just had about the 28th and the quality of games that are there. If you have one more conference game for every team, all of a sudden there's a lot more attractive games for your TV partners. And those are the ones who are paying the money. I mean, it's why the NFL went to more games each year, because the partners want more games as opposed to games that don't matter. And it is exactly the same thing as getting the exhibition games off the schedule and playing more regular season games. So, and what would be lost in that instance for Penn State fans going forward is nothing. I mean,
Right.
UMass and whoever we're playing from the MAC and whatever else. I mean, the conference is much tougher, but there's not a good non-con on it. So you might as well just play the conference games. And I guess what will help them get there, if they do get there, is if the coaches and the university presidents believe that losses are being valued, like this year and next. Like, and if the first couple,
Yeah.
if teams with 1 or 2 losses who have quality losses still get in, then I think there'd be more motion toward 10 conference.
I was talking to somebody about that exact topic of what is gonna happen. Like, I think we've overvalued. Okay, I know why we were talking about this. So we were talking about the in 2028, Penn State has their non-conference schedule booked. That includes a game with UMass, and I think we've kind of actually screwed the market collectively up, if you will, because we have overvalued. Before we were overvaluing non-conference games, the bigger non-conference opponents. Now they're virtually useless. But I am interested to see, like, if it comes down to, let's say, 10 and 2 teams, and your losses are one conference opponent and one non-conference, and then for somebody that's got two conference losses, like I think I think there's legitimate argument that you should get in if you have the one non-conference loss, because I think you set yourself up to be in a more difficult situation. Now, obviously, it depends on who it is, but if it's net neutral, if it's the number 15 team versus the number 16 team, if is what you're effectively comparing there, I think that's fair. I wonder, and we've talked about this idea too, and I really like this idea. I don't love the blue white game. Like I understand why the blue white game happens, and I love the spring practice game for all of the. It's a very nice refresher of getting the collegiate spirit going, but not necessarily the collegiate football spirit going. I wonder, do you switch that game into that's where you play your FCS opponent, and then they're still going to get the money from that, and then you go to a 10 conference schedule with two non-conference games. That way everybody still gets their bread, so to speak. um like you're now playing like kind of 13. That's fine. I'm willing to spend $10 for the blue white game. It would be annoying because I like to just use the bathrooms in the stadium while I'm tailgating, but that's about it.
I think that gets to, I think, a point of the 10 games and another variable, right? With 10 games, you get 5 and 5, right? So you got some, you're getting an extra home game, but you're sort of losing a home game, right? Like Penn State's
Mm,
always going to, you're losing that flexibility to have an extra home game that you're just going to pay somebody for. Like the years that Penn State has 4 conference home games, it has 3 non-cons that,
yeah,
get you
I
to
didn't think about
7.
that.
I mean, I guess you're going to still get to 7 with 2, but you have those 3 extras, those games you pay just to lay out a little bit of money to make about a bunch more money on the money that people are coming in. I think for teams and conferences, it matters less because you can make it 5 and 5 and make it equal out. Because we were at Notre Dame this past weekend, I was looking at future schedules. They have 7 home games next season and 4 the following.
Well, but they also have all those weird gimme games, or what, or not gimme games. Sorry, the like neutral site ish games, the Shamrock series, and things like that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they only have 4 games in South Bend next year. Right? That's it. Or 2 years from now. Next year they have
Okay,
7. The year after they have 4. That's an uncertainty that Penn State doesn't want. Penn State doesn't want to have a variable
right.
of 3 less games from one season to another, and that's what 9 kind of gives it. And I think 10 would too. 5 and 5. They just make sure those other two they would never go anywhere with 10.
No, it's
Right?
gonna be
There would always be
it,
2 softies, and they would
yeah.
never ever go on the road anywhere again. Which again, conference is tougher. You don't have to, but I think those are all tentacles and pieces of it.
I guess I wonder in terms of there's got to be enough supply and demand out there for a school like Rutgers, for example, to be able to still have those 7 home games. Like I don't know. I Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
If you're 4 conference games and you still want to get to 7 at home and you're in the Big Ten on that low when you've got 9, you only got 4 that season, everybody's finding those 3 games easily.
Yeah.